And we are back. Today, we are focusing on saving your ammo. Sales Team 6 Training 2026. Let's go. So, super important. Oftentimes, we come up to the doorstep. We go in our intro, they're listening to us. You start talking about why they should pick you up. You start building value. They go into la la land, you lose the sale. This happens all the time. This is where we get cut off with smokescreen objections, all that fun stuff. But it's really important to gauge where the client's at and then cater your pitch to that specific homeowner. What that looks like is if somebody is short on time, there's a kid pulling at their arm, they need to pick up their kid from school, soccer practice, whatever. You're not trying to build extended value going into all the nitty gritties. You're going to be focused on something called difference value rather than price value so that you can respect both of your time. You're not wasting it on what is potentially not a actually qualified buyer. And you can get to the price sheet, which is what I call the lifeboat of the sale, as soon as possible. So as we dive into it here, as I just mentioned, difference value versus price value. Difference value is something that I like to use in the front half of the actual sale. Reason being, it gives me a lot of ammunition to still use once I backyard the homeowner and build extended value off the price, or rather justify the price. Difference value in a future benefit simply sounds something like this. Yeah, so when we come out, we'll knock down the spider webs, wasp nests. That way you're not coming around pulling out the ladder when it's 90 degrees outside, knocking them down yourself. Keeps the house fresh and clean. You and the wife are very happy. Now that's very simple. It gets the point across. It's not wasting any time. Very easy to understand. Now the contrary to that would be price value. This is something I'm using after price sheet. This is because once there's a price on the table, the homeowner is far more likely to be thinking about actually moving forwards with it, regardless of what the price is at. In that smidge of a second when they're thinking about it, I'm going to now move them off the doorstep, get them out of their no zone, and rebuild extended value in a way that establishes credibility for me as the actual sales rep. So what that looks like in an example would be, I'm good. Hey, I totally get you. Let me ask you this. What's going on in the backyard? Because it does affect the price a little bit. Do you have gravel, mulch beds, a deck, a patio? Do you have a pool? Do you know the square footage of your backyard? You know what? I got a few moments until my next appointment. I'll just do a quick 360, see if you even qualify for a service as thorough as mine. Is the get on the left or the right? Right? Awesome. I'll meet you back there. You move back to the backyard. Now we notice there's some spider webs in the eaves. Hey, check this out real quick. Up top, a lot of the neighbors like John and Kelsey have been seeing a lot of the webs popping up this time of year. Look, last thing you need to be doing is disrupting your Saturday evening, coming outside, pulling out the ladder, which has already got you sweaty, going and knocking down spider webs and wasp nests, and then have to go inside, shower, and then get back to your day. So what we're going to come out here and do, knock down the spider webs and wasp nests, trace it with our licensed Delta Dust. It's going to block the smell receptors, keep the stuff from popping up in between services. That way the house is fresh and clean and you don't have that stress added to your life. Now, even with all that, I don't know if you know John very well, but what I could do for you just to help out, I'll put on his referral code, call you guys best friends, just drop that first one down to cost of product at $99.23. Do you think of it all that, you just give your local guy a crack at it for a handful of sprays? I promise I'll knock it out of the park. Now that is a full comprehensive overview of what a move, a price value build, in addition to a rack and close looks like. All the same, it is something that can allow you to come across as a professional and really control the conversation. As we continue forwards, the bridge is what connects the difference value to the price value. And this is why it is so important. It is the step in between that re-gauges the interest of the client. Now, simply put, what that looks like is some sort of thesis paired into a transition into your price sheet. Now, even with all the upgrades, I know a lot of the neighbors were paying $150, $160 with Aptiv. Is that correct? Excellent. So typically we do a lot more and we charge a lot more. The thing is, the neighbors collectively paid for all the product. I had some reschedules. As a result, I'm filling my last spots for about 75% off. I'll show you what that looks like and get out of your hair. Transition into the price sheet smoothly and continue on with your pitch. Without some sort of heads up, what we call pre-framing. Pre-framing is something that allows you to tell the homeowner what to expect so that when you go into it, you already warned them what to expect and you're going to have that interest because they were thinking about the next step of the sale. All right, so once we get this bridge set, we can then go into the actual price sheet. It is very important to keep in mind, again, I say this all the time, the price sheet is not to get a yes, it is to extract no's. So the way we do that is we can gauge what type of home we're in, whether that's POV or rich, price them very high at the initial, whether that's $500 to $1,000 in a combination of all your additionals added up to the initial price. We're going to be close to that. This is really important because when you're going into late summer, as we're in right now, or starting off next year, people have been knocked regardless, being in a home for 3, 4, 5 years. What you can use to your advantage is coming across as a professional. Now, something that's going to differentiate you in that sense is being a lot more expensive. In a rich neighborhood, that's going to be just gauging interest. In a POV neighborhood, that's something that's going to shock people, maybe scare them into they can't afford it. The reality is the price is going to change momentarily. Something to keep in mind, though, is that when you close it the first time, whether it's $1,000 or $50, they're likely to say no because they haven't listened to much of what you've said in the first 3 to 5 minutes. So when we get out that no, I'd much rather be in a position where I have a lot of wiggle room to then rack, resolve, ace, close, and build more value with price sheet value at a time when they're actually listening. So keep the initial high because it's only going to set you up for success later in the sale. Now, using temperature gauging with the initial, once we close on the first time, you can see if they're looking at the price sheet, if they're intrigued, if they're in la la land. You can gauge where the homeowner's at. Now, it's important to use some sort of upgrade in this point. I call it a jab. Throwing in the garage something of an upgrade, whether that's a deck, patio, pool, perimeter. Something that sweetens the deal a little bit, but necessarily isn't going to close them. Once we pull out their next objection, this is our perfect opportunity to move, show them bugs, and then implement our price value. So to reiterate, the beginning of the actual pitch is going to be difference value, something simple, easy to digest, just so that we can get to the price sheet. Once we're here, we temperature gauge the client, and then use a jab upgrade to move them, show them some bugs at the garage, shows them bugs in the backyard, build extended value to justify what you're pricing them at with the price value, and then use a business reason to close. What you should expect, you are going to have to be very on point to be pitching like this, but it's going to be far more successful, and there's a direct correlation to that. What you should expect in the beginning of the day, Q1, which is when you get dropped off in your neighborhood up until 6 p.m., you need to be gathering the names of neighbors. What companies people are currently using? What companies have knocked there before you? What type of bugs people have seen in the last 2 to 3 years, rodents even. All these things are going to help you establish yourself as the professional neighborhood bug guy. Once you have your social proof, you can implement this pitch using logical things that have gone in the neighborhood to build extended value off the price and be closing far more deals. As always, guys, any questions you have, please either comment them here or you all have my personal number, so reach out to me personally. I am always here to help. My goal is to make your life as easy as possible and help you lead to a successful summer in 2026. Thank you for listening as always, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.